Episode 2. Welcome back, folks. Mark and Richard back with me for another instalment of the Topical Thunder podcast. Today, topic social media. Give it a wave, everyone. I'm looking forward to this one, boys. And there's a lot to talk about. The last one was a little bit long, so I'll try and keep it a little bit shorter this time. So let's get started. Right, so first, I want each of your thoughts on certain, maybe probably the biggest social media platforms. So, what do we think of Facebook, Richard?
I mean, it started off as a bit of a stalking thing, didn't it? Originally, so I don't think it's changed that much. To be fair, I think it's still what's everyone else up to today. It's it's still kind of shady every now and again, but I get why it's a thing. Like all social media, I understand. It's like the internet. It started off as a really good idea, and then slowly it's a bit like the Wild West. It's like everyone's allowed to do whatever they want, and then everyone's like, actually, no, we actually need to bring in some rules and regulations. And Facebook's one of those where it's a bit dodgy every now and again.
Social media for nosy people.
You can look down the list that we've created of the different. It definitely feels that way. That's why a lot of when I'm on Facebook, a lot of mine is friends only, or just private, straight out. I just don't trust it as much, but because everyone uses it, you have to use it.
Yeah. So, what's Facebook like? Mean for you? Like, how much do you use it, and like, how much have you used it in the past?
Because originally I used to be on MySpace. Yeah, that was my thing.
I think that was the first big giant social media, wasn't it? Really. I mean, I'm not sure if YouTube's. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it a giant social media in that sort of sense. I suppose it is.
No.
But it's more.
It is more now. I think.
But I think MySpace was the first like gigantic one, wasn't it? MySpace and MSN and stuff like that. But yeah, so
and then Facebook kind of took over that.
Very much so, yeah.
It became like, oh, we're all about friends and family and seeing, and then it was just stalking and it's a bit boring. Like compared to what MySpace used to be, it's boring. It's literally just it's like a white piece of paper with what people's doing that day, and if you really want to let people know, then put it on Facebook and what your thoughts are. And
it's like a friends. It's like a friends united.
I only just use it because everyone uses it. I only use it because everyone else uses it. That's what everyone went to, and because of Messenger, like everyone uses the Messenger.
Literally, I don't think I post anything on Facebook whatsoever. I mean, very rare. I might share something, but I use Facebook for memes, and I use the Messenger. That's literally it. Like, I love the Messenger feature, but I don't actually scroll Facebook at all. Yeah.
I mean,
you just signed up for the memes.
Well, I signed up for the Messenger. Yeah. It was the Messenger, really. It was. I got told about Facebook. I mean, MySpace I never did, so I wasn't a big social media person, so to speak. But I only really signed up for Facebook because I got told about it, that a lot of the lads I served with were on there. So it was a good way of communicating with them. So some of the guys I haven't seen for 20 odd years. I mean, one of them's in Canada. He lives in Canada now. So any messaging we do is through Facebook Messenger. So it can become a bit addictive as well, can't it? I mean, I've had spells where I'm just on Facebook. What memes can I find now? Who can I shock with this? And I'll add whoever wants to be on my Facebook, and then just let the week get rid of themselves. Really, it's just what I can put.
I can't wait to get to TikTok with the addiction factor. I would say I used to, when I was younger, I used to post a lot on Facebook. I used to more running commentary of my life in some ways. I think it was just more a done thing back then, not so much these days. mainly because I think if you're going to put any views out there, or you're some sort of celebrity, or you're trying to accomplish something through use of social media, I think most people go to a different sort of platform now. So I'm going to move on to the next one. One that I don't use at all, Instagram. So I can't really comment too much on it because I don't use Instagram. Do either of you two use it?
I've only really used it. I've only ever really used it for my miniatures. That's where I started posting pictures of, like, when I did some drawing or I did some painting or whatever. That was the only real reason I used Instagram for.
Yeah.
Didn't really use it for anything else. I mean, going with the Facebook and the social media, most of the social medias, a lot of companies jumped on the bandwagon as well. Because I know Exercise for Less, they used to do that. If you log in on social media that you was at the gym or wherever at their venues, you earned a points. It became like a loyalty point scheme. So that's where a lot of people would be there. Right, well, I'm logging in. I'm here. Here's me on the treadmill. It's like, and everything else. But no, other than my miniatures and stuff, no, I don't really use Instagram at all. Really.
No. Do you use it, Richard?
I find it's very limited, isn't it, as well?
I'm not sure.
Very limited.
I'm actually genuinely a complete novice when it comes to Instagram.
It's very, very, very limited. It's not like where on Facebook you can do a lot of, we can share. You can share each other's stuff. You can repost it and everything else. You haven't got that much capability on Instagram.
Okay.
I never used it. The only reason I think I do have an account is because does Facebook own it now? I think, or somebody like that. But I think it automatically gives you an Instagram account, so I do have one.
Yeah,
I've never used it. Never had any interest.
I've got one, but I don't use it. No, not at all for me. No, yeah, I mean,
boring one, that one.
I do think in terms of pure influencer sort of thing, we'll talk about later. I think Instagram is probably the biggest and best for getting yourself out there, your sort of personal portfolio, I think. And maybe just detailing step to step of your life these days with like reels and things like that, stories and that. I think it's Instagram is probably the biggest and the best for that, I think, these days. So this is my favorite. I'm going to go on to this now. TikTok is by far my favorite social media, and I think it's absolutely fascinating. It's one of the best things I've ever been on. And it's such a simple premise, but like TikTok did it so well, so quickly. I think I bet I spend about 6-8 hours a week scrolling through TikToks, at least. Genuinely, I absolutely love it. I don't know what I was doing in that time before, but like, I absolutely adore TikTok now.
It's something constructive.
Yeah. I'm not sure about that one. I think it was more procrastinating. But obviously we've got a TikTok that we made for this. Like, Mark, you've got your TikTok, haven't you? For your miniatures and that.
Yeah, but that's your fault. That was your fault. That was down to nobody else but you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I think the best way of going about things, if you want to grow anything, any interest in what you're doing, is to get your social medias out there, because it's basically just word of mouth, but over the internet, isn't it? Basically.
Yeah.
If you've not got a social media presence now, when you're trying to create a business or create an identity for yourself, then I think you're going about it probably the wrong way.
Yeah, you're not going to get anywhere, are you?
No.
The social media, regardless of which platform, is just the way forward, because they're all linking up. I mean, it's now my TikTok account linked to my Instagram account, which is automatically linked to my Facebook account. So I post it once, and it just and it's just boom, and it's gone out there. So it's if you're trying to do anything business-wise especially, if you ain't got social media, then you're pissing against the wind really nowadays against modern, the way retail's done, modern way.
Yeah, if you're trying to be anything or anyone, you can't really jump straight onto radio and TV like you used to. Like,
they were the original social media.
That was the only way of getting out there, and it's even harder to do shit like that, especially to take yourself seriously. The social media is literally the only way of doing it properly now. If you go viral, you've made it.
What's up with you, Rich?
Just you cracking open the cold one. That's what I can hear in my ear.
He's opening that compressed ear again. He's making some new tennis balls out.
No, you're dead right though, Martin. You've got Lad Baby and the Smith family, but it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? I mean, I know the Smith family. They've had a lot of issues with hate and whatever else. I believe they've actually had to move home because of it. The stepfather, I think, set fire to his car on his drive or something like that, and had a lot of hate from people because, well, I think he took it a bit too far, really, because they very quickly ascertained where he lived and everything else. So every time you put something on social media, you're going to have somebody that loves it or likes your product or what you're doing, but you're also going to have the haters out there. And that's one of the bad things about the social media. The haters, the cyberbullying and everything else that comes with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. 100%. So here's a question for you, Richard. Well, firstly, I don't think you use TikTok really, do you? Unless I send them you.
No, I've never had any interest in, unless I was doing my own social media, or if I was going on YouTube or anything, I'd probably use TikTok. But I've never had any interest in it. I mean, YouTube has its own version of it called YouTube
It's okay.
Shorts,
It's okay.
but I don't think it's as good as TikTok. But I've just had. No, I've never had any interest in using it. So maybe it's just me being old.
You're a whippersnapper.
Have it?
Never. I always get called
I think maybe you just don't want to fill up your time with useless stuff like that, and you know what I mean. But
it does become
honestly,
very time consuming.
It takes so much time.
I mean, like I've seen some of it. And it's just I've just wasted like what, a minute of my life just watching something. I could have been doing something more productive. But yeah, it's just not for me. The whole idea of just swiping up.
That doesn't happen for me. Mine is swiping up, going ooh, and then watching that entire profiles videos for about half an hour, and then going right, that's enough of that. Scrolling to the next one and going ooh, and then doing the exact same.
I think the worst thing about TikTok videos is when you're watching a video. And then you'll get to the end and it's going to show you the results. And it's like, see part 2 for the results, and then you have to go through the profile to find them.
When there's a part 2, but they don't pin it. So you've got to find it. Yeah,
completely.
That's frustrating.
No,
that is frustrating.
Find it. You have to find it. Yeah, not interested.
So, and I mentioned YouTube Shorts. Another one of my favourites, YouTube. I absolutely adore YouTube. Not for the same reasons as TikTok, but YouTube's just been an absolute mainstay of my life for almost 20 years now, if I'm honest. Like, from when I started playing games, like looking at other people's content and how they do things, because the internet's come a long way since I was like 15, 16. Like, if you want to do anything now, if you want to know anything now, you can guarantee there's YouTube videos out there with everything on pretty much to help you do things and that. I just find it absolutely fascinating for almost anything you want, any purpose you want, for find out anything, or you want to do something, make something. Like YouTube's got it all, and it's so saturated. Like there's so much choice.
I think YouTube is how the internet wanted to be when it first came out. You know, it wanted to be there as the hive of information that you could, at the click of a few buttons, you could get the information that you wanted. Whereas YouTube expanded on that and became almost like Microsoft's internet's love child, where, like you say, you can find anything you want really on, you know, documentaries, tutorials. All the information is there in some form of video form. And I'm like you, Martin. You know, I've got YouTube pinned on my TV. It's either Netflix or YouTube. That's all I ever watch if I'm watching the telly. You know, if I'm doing air painting, I can have the laptop on. I'll have YouTube up with tutorials, or you know, something to do with, usually with miniatures or whatever, or even music. You know, it's definitely one of the best ways of finding information out.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Really.
All in video form, anyway, without a doubt. Absolutely crucial.
It's definitely. I completely agree with the whole YouTube thing. It's throughout when we started using the internet, like using the internet and YouTube have pretty much been hand in hand. It all started with what's her name? I can't remember her name.
Yeah.
Janet Jackson's boob.
Everyone's seen that clip, haven't
they? Yeah.
That's what started YouTube off.
The boob slip, yeah.
Everyone. So the boob slip. That's what that started. Started YouTube off. But over the last few years, it's really not. It's really not. But it's really not. YouTube over the last couple of years it's started going downhill a bit, mainly because of the whole demonetization and adpocalypse, as they called it, on YouTube, where people making ridiculous money on YouTube for, you know, not doing a lot, and a lot of kids growing up nowadays want to be YouTubers so they can have a Lamborghini, you know, just like KSI and all that. That's basically what they want to do. It just seems to be one of those. It's just going downhill because they're blocking everything. You can't say like you don't have a freedom of speech anymore on the internet because of YouTube and what Google's terms and services are putting into place. You know, you can't say certain things, certain words immediately, like the whole C word that's been happening for the last couple of years. You can't really say that. If you say that, you'll get demonetized straight away. I'm sure you know what I mean by the C word, not the 4-letter C word. Seaweed. Yeah.
What, cake?
Yeah.
Is that the C word you're thinking of?
I'm on about, with 2 numbers after it. Cake, yes. Yeah, cake. Can't say cake on YouTube. But it's stuff like that. It feels like they're censoring a lot of information, even if it's true or not. The whole Ukraine thing was interesting. There was a lot of it's called DCS, so it's Digital Combat Simulator, and it's basically using gameplay of that and saying, oh, look at all these Ukrainians being shot down, all the Russians being shot down and whatever, and it's not, it's from a simulation, and people are liking it and disliking it and putting, oh, rest in peace to all these people, when actually it's not real, it's just a computer game, stuff like that. It's kind of dodgy. This is why I don't really trust the internet as much for information, because a lot of it does have an agenda. We could say that a lot about the TV or newspapers or anything on your phone. It's one of those scary things at the moment where it's been the wild, like I said, it's been the Wild West for a few years, and now they're starting to try and rein it in. we've had some good years, but there are some points where it's like something needs to be brought in, but how they go about it is, I don't know what they're going to do. But it worries me that someone's going to come in and go, right, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that. Your freedom of speech is gone. Yeah, it's the whole, like Mark says, it's the whole bullying issue that's been going on. You can go on anonymous on it and say whatever you want, and no one's going to track you down and find. Well, apart from these last couple of years now, but no one can really track you down and find out who's saying all these things.
I agree. I completely agree. I've got. So there is every minute there's 300 hours of video posted to YouTube. People now watch over 1 billion hours of YouTube every single day. The average person watches 40 minutes of YouTube a day. More than half of YouTube views come from mobile devices. So 90% of Americans, 18 to 24-year-olds, use YouTube. 90%. So it's that thing of like, obviously, people are growing up now with the internet, like being as big as it could be almost. So YouTube, people like YouTube and that is just an actual part of their lives now. It's just as normal as walking and talking almost to some people now, like just going on a tablet or going on a smartphone and just having YouTube there. So who could tell me what the most searched term for is on YouTube? Who thinks they know? It's
God knows.
So when you type in anything into YouTube, that's what I mean. It's quite a generic, simple one.
Right. Okay. Oh God. There's that many things I could think of. I can't think.
It won't
think of one that would really stand out. To be fair,
so the most searched term on YouTube is just
cats,
the word music.
Cats, yeah.
So music, yeah.
Yeah, no, that
don't surprise me, to be honest. Yeah.
The second most searched term is more specific, and that's Minecraft. Minecraft is the second most searched term on YouTube. That's pretty mad actually.
Not a game I've ever played, but
no, it's not for me.
Kids play it a lot.
It is absolutely gigantic now, especially with like young teenagers and that. It's like that and Fortnite. Maybe not so much Fortnite these days, but like Minecraft is absolutely gigantic, genuinely gigantic.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to move on to the last big social media I think there is. And it's another one that I like, not as much as TikTok, but I do like it. And that's Twitter. And the reason I like Twitter personally, even though I don't post anything, is everything or every person or everything that I've got an interest in, I can follow that, and then every time they post something, I can see what's going off in their world, sort of thing. So I get updated on maybe.
Stalker.
So maybe there's like, bands you like, sports teams you like, celebrities you like, and whatever they're doing, you can just follow it and keep up to date with their content. I absolutely love Twitter, like especially for football related stuff. I love going after a game or during a game, just going and looking at comments from fans, and I absolutely love that. There's nothing sweeter than jumping onto Chesterfield's Twitter when they've lost and looking at all the comments and just liking them. It's brilliant. I absolutely love it. Yeah, I can't wait.
It's such a
can't wait.
Fine.
You've got to take your shots where you can, Mark. I can't wait. Can't wait. Posting the little.
It's not a social media I've ever used, to be fair.
Yeah. I
I think I've got an account. I think, yeah.
No,
I think I've got an account, but I set up years and years ago. Well, a while ago, and but I've never really. It never gripped me. You know what I mean? Like, it never gripped me and made me want to look and watch and everything else. So not something I really use. I ought to really, if I want to, take this miniature thing to further. But it's not something I've really, like I say, it never really. Whereas the Facebook with the videos and everything else, and the TikTok with the videos and watching that, and Twitter never really gripped me. So it was not when I lost interest in it very quickly. To be fair.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think
I've never really used it, but it's one of those. It's kind of replaced the news. To be fair. Like, if you ever want to find anything out, you literally go on Twitter because it's on Twitter before anything else. It's so immediate and so direct. Like, something happens, you know about it straight away on Twitter. It's bonkers how that's took over so many different things. And news channels are struggling. Like, newspapers are struggling because they print it out the next day. While on Twitter, it's immediate.
I think it's the trending impact.
Incredible.
If anything's trending on Twitter
in like the last 50 years and stuff like that.
It's had a significant impact on what's happening in that day or in the world in general. If you're trending on Twitter in general, then you are doing something good or really bad. Like, I mean.
It was. I know social media was blamed quite recently for Amber Heard's demise within the court because she was saying that obviously Johnny Depp's a well-loved character and they were using social media against her and everything else. It's like you say, because it's instant out there. You've only got to have your mobile device or anything that you can just boom, quick, right there. Within seconds, boom, it's out. Everyone can read it. Everyone can see what you put in. So, yeah, it's things like your newspapers and stuff like that are definitely going to become a thing of the past, aren't they?
100%, yeah.
They'll become extinct.
With newspapers, even in the last 10 years, like, newspapers have to have a digital presence now. That's why they put their papers online and then they charge like maybe £1 or whatever to they'll give you like the first paragraph or something, and then you have to pay £1 to look at the rest of the story or whatever. So even the print media can't get away from having to use the internet and social media. It's just you can't do it now.
I mean, the problem with the problem with Twitter is because the information's that immediate, nothing gets fact checked. Like the whole, bringing up the whole Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing. A lot of people did believe Amber Heard at first. A lot of people thought that's what really truly happened, and there's over time it took a few years for it to all come out, mainly because of the trial and going on Twitter. But there's a lot of misinformation that goes through that doesn't get fact checked, or someone has an agenda to bring out and they bring it out straight away on Twitter. It's scary to think that someone could post something like that and ruin someone's career or their livelihood and get away with it, even for 6 months or a year or something like that, just because they posted something. Or, for example, Kevin Hart posted something on Twitter years back, and he's meant to be the host of the Oscars and gets pulled for something that he posted 5-10 years ago. It's crazy.
One of the reasons why I'm glad there was none of this around when I was a younger man, a teenager and everything. Sweetheart. So, it's because I dread to think some of the stuff we got on to back then, caught on camera or anything like that. even CCTV wasn't as prominent back then. So it's mental, isn't it? When you think about it, you can be. I see it quite regular on some of the door staff pages where someone's caught a film of an incident being dealt with outside, and automatically, because of the clip that they're showing, they're blaming the door staff for something that's happened. Regardless of whether they've got the full film, they're only showing a certain bit of it because it sensationalises that incident. Or, big doorman smacks this kid and the kid falls on the floor or whatever. Not what's happened prior to this. And that's like Rich says, it's quite frightening, really, that your whole life could be ruined just because of a small clip or a small incident that's been put onto social media.
Yeah.
And it goes viral. Yeah. I mean, when I post these pictures that I've got of Richard and the Shake Machine, of what they've been up to, that's it. It's all over.
Yeah, I think you see that a lot. I think you see that a lot on Twitter, especially with you said about Kevin Hart and footballers like Jack Grealish and that. Like they post something, 7-8 years ago, and they're not expecting to be as big as names as they are. And obviously, you don't think about things so much that especially when you're a teenager. And now, you're an absolute global icon, and it just comes back to haunt you. I think
it's not just about not thinking, Martin. It's going back to this Black Lives Matter, that happened. There was lots of people posting things prior to that, many years ago. All because this Black Lives Matters movement came about. All of a sudden, it's like, boom, boom. Actually, you posted this back when you was 13. So and so, sensationalizing this or saying this against so and so and whatever. It's whatever's trending at the time. They tend to go through people's social medias and see what they can drag up to make them more prominent than them. The government are always doing it. You've got obviously the party gates over the lockdown, and then Keir Starmer's. Well, we had this, and it's ridiculous. It's propaganda against each other all the time.
Yeah, I think I definitely think Twitter is definitely the biggest breeding ground for things to be taken out of context and for stories to be there that aren't there. Even for instance, hoaxes with celebrities' deaths and that, it gets spread around that this person's dead, and then everyone's like, "Oh, rip!" They don't sort of go into it, and then you find out someone's alive. They're like, "Oh no, wait, I'm not dead yet." I've seen that quite a bit. But I mean, I think Twitter is, gigantic now in terms of, Facebook's I think it's got maybe more accounts on it, but I think Twitter is more widely used now to put people's views out there and to comment on other people's views. For instance, there's 330 million monthly active users of Twitter. There are 391 million accounts with people that have no followers. So that is just people that just come on to look at stuff or to spy on people or whatever. But 44% of people have made an account and then have left without ever sending a tweet. Yeah.
Mine's one of them. Yeah.
Mine's the same. Mine's exactly the same. It does make you wonder, though, after this thing that happened with Elon Musk and the whole shenanigans with how many. He wants to know how many bots were actually using Twitter. It makes you wonder how many of those that at them statistics, how many of them are actually bots. And that whole is going well. Is it actually going to trial now, or is it? I'm not sure, but
I think it'll be quite high.
It'll be interesting if that number ever does come out.
As I just said to you there, look, I think it'll be very high.
That aren't real.
Probably higher than that.
I think it'll be at least 10%.
I reckon 30%.
10% at least will be.
Yeah, I reckon so.
Interesting to see.
I reckon so from them figures. So
really, maybe.
Do we know? I don't think you probably will. But who's the most followed Twitter account? Bear in mind that Donald Trump is banned. So who do you think is the most followed Twitter account? It's changed recently. It's changed very recently because it was, I think it was Cristiano Ronaldo, but it's not.
I'm going to say.
I don't think it is now.
I'm going to say it's going to be someone daft, like Jeremy Clarkson or Piers Morgan or someone like that. I could just say it, like, post an opinion out there and everyone likes it, and they'll be like, right, I'm going back to that Twitter account when something happens, see what their opinion of it is. I feel like it's going to be someone like that.
And it's not Bojo, is it?
Actually, no, it's not Joe Biden. It's Barack Obama, and Barack Obama's come back into popularity a little bit with Joe Biden getting presidency. Because Barack Obama seems to just like drop a little bit from people's scope when Trump won the first election. But when he went up against Biden, obviously, if Barack Obama was Biden's biggest supporter, he came back into the fold a little bit. And obviously, Barack Obama's doing like a lot of TV work now. Like he's did that show where he was like narrating like wild animals and stuff and like the jungle and stuff. And then they did the thing with Bear Grylls as well, didn't they, a while ago? So I actually think that Barack Obama could turn into a TV personality. But yeah, I think he's the most followed Twitter account at the moment.
Someone's tickled his fancy, definitely.
All I can think about is Bear Grylls and Barack Obama.
Yeah, I watched that. It was actually quite fascinating.
From a snake skin.
I think Barack Obama comes across very good in public. Maybe different behind closed doors, but I think he's got a very good public figure. Like, he's a very good public figure. He knows how to look good in front of the camera, I think. Whereas, Joe Biden, not so much. Yeah. But he probably didn't realise the camera's there. He probably thinks it's some sort of fever dream.
Why not? What's wrong with Joe Biden? He doesn't realise he's there.
According to Brandwatch, the most influential person on Twitter is Taylor Swift. She's the most influential person on Twitter.
Taylor Swift,
apparently.
Of course it is.
Well, I'm assuming it's obviously it'll be a mix of like followers and her views, like how many likes she gets and all that sort of business. People she's endorsed, like it'll be a lot of that. I think it'll be a lot of that. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I think it'll be a lot of that.
Yeah. Like retweets and
shares, retweets.
I think it'll be a lot of that. Don't throw too much shade on Taylor Swift.
Who's more of a sellout? That's basically what that should be. You tried to trademark a year.
I've told you my favourite social media. My favourite social media was TikTok. But what's your favourite, Mark? Is your favourite TikTok as well?
I think it's got to be TikTok. Yeah, I mean, like I say, I only started looking at TikTok really for the funny videos and stuff like that. Really, it's as I've progressed and started posting myself and everything, yeah, it's definitely become my favourite, as in for anything really. I mean, I very rarely go on Facebook much now at all. So, and like I say, Instagram's just gets posted on automatically from my TikTok. So yeah, it's that's the one that I tend to find myself. That and YouTube, and they're the two that I tend to, if I'm sitting in the chair or whatever, and right, I'll have a look who's on TikTok, who's posted, who's the. I'll go on YouTube. Yeah. Any new videos I can watch.
Yeah, I think YouTube's a close second.
They're my
what about
two
you,
mainstays. Yeah.
It's always been YouTube for me. It's just something I always end up going on, even if I just want to chill out and watch some like a documentary or just some funny videos. I mean, how many times has people, when YouTube first came out, funny cat videos or funny fails or something like that, someone's ended up watching something on YouTube. For me, it's just always been there for me. But any other social media, I've never really been that interested in it. So yeah, YouTube definitely for me. And I wanted to start my own YouTube page and start getting things going, but it's hard. It's so saturated. Our last podcast got 50, I think it's about 50 views now we've got on it. Cut that back to like 10 years time when it's now at 1 million or something like that. But yeah, it's always been YouTube for me. I've never used that much any of the social media. It's just when you're bored or when you sat on toilet or you're waiting for something. It's just been one of those things. I think people say YouTube Shorts isn't like TikTok, but I think a lot of people use it instead of TikTok.
YouTube Shorts is more just pure video rather than like TikTok. I think it's a lot of like personality in video. I think YouTube is clips mainly, whereas TikTok is more people's stories and events and more broadcasting their life. I think so. I think YouTube is just pure clips. I think if you're not interested in that sort of stuff, like the personal side of TikTok, I think YouTube Shorts probably is better. Just pure clips.
I think with the TikTok, it's like you say, you've got that personal aspect of it, and it's just for argument's sake, the guy with Tourette's that does cooking and all sorts, just it's like a little window into his life and how his poor wife has to put up with or deal with that on a daily basis when I'm trying to watch him.
Yeah.
A simple thing like make an omelette or anything really. His kids think it's hilarious, but a lot of the stuff shows the dangers that he puts himself under as well on a daily basis. Put the frying pan on his head or something stupid.
Yeah.
Not doing it on purpose. It's just the tick that. So yeah, it's definitely a more personal view.
I think social media in general, like it gives people a voice. I can't remember who said it. It was like someone was saying there's loads of crazy people on social media, and it makes people crazy. And it's like no, like people with like mental health problems or whatever, they've always been there, but now this social media, it gives people a platform to put their views out there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think there is that minority of people though that are, because they want the fame or they want to be seen on these social medias, that think, well, like the old Jackass era, they'll start off, they'll do something. How can we get more views this time by doing something even more crazy? And they put themselves in the firing line and under danger just because they want to become viral or, make some money out of it. There is always that aspect of crazy people that are willing to do that one thing extra just so that they're more popular than somebody else.
Instead of the 15 minutes of fame, it's how can I get viral? Or if you ask kids now, like, instead of it being what do you want to do as a job when you grow up, instead of them saying, "Oh, I want to be a firefighter or I want to be a policeman or whatever," they'll say, "I just want a Lamborghini when I'm older, or I want a big mansion." It's true though. It's a lot of kids are starting to do that now, and they're not really aspiring to do something as a job. They just want that fame, and a lot of them don't realise that becoming famous has its own responsibilities. And you see a lot of people who become famous who don't get any media training or anything like that. They just become famous overnight for doing something silly or having a cat or a dog that does something silly to them. Or it's worrying. It's like I said, it's been the Wild West for a long time, and people are starting to realise there needs to be some form of regulation brought in, whether or not it's people actually having like a identity, like a permanent identity on the internet. I don't know, but I don't know what would happen. It's up to a government to decide, but if they do it wrong, all right. I think they need education as well on what to do, because there's a lot of old people, old people who have nothing to do with the internet, who want to make all these rules up, and we'll see what happens. You see things like was it Soper when they brought him in America, and a lot of that I watched the whole debate about that, and a lot of them had no idea what the internet was and how it works. Or the whole thing with Mark Zuckerberg did that inquiry in the Senate, and a lot of them had no idea what he was on about.
When you said like people growing up to
stuff like that is
be famous and they want to get money in that, it is, like I said earlier on, it's the influencer thing, isn't it? It's like whether if you've got a talent, or even if you haven't got a talent, if you maybe are attractive, like conventionally attractive, like you're a model, or you just like an interesting person in general. You've got a weird personality, like Mark said, the guy with Tourette's. Like if you've got a disability, or if you're just different in general, you can market yourself. You can market maybe what you think's your weakness as a strength, and you can become a big name, make loads of money from that. Maybe use your clout to make other people famous, whereas they pay you to sort of ride on your coattails. I think that's mainly what the influencer thing is, basically. The influencer will get to a stage where they're famous enough, they'll get adverts for them, they'll get like deals, they'll get brands and things, and then they might charge to share that with other people and grow their social media platform. So I think that's probably I won't say easiest way, but it's probably I think the most straightforward way is to be an influencer almost these days, because once you're there, you're there. You only probably have to maybe put out a couple of social media posts a week, and then you can make big money off that.
Well, there's definitely money to be made, isn't there? I mean, even in the part that I do, with like the miniature painting and stuff, some of the guys that's on YouTube, and they've perhaps been on YouTube 2 or 3 years now, and they've built it up, they're all making money where they've all been able to pack up the day jobs. They've got their own little studios now in a warehouse or whatever else, shared building, and they're doing it full time. So it's there to be made, but it's like Rich said. I think some sort of regulation's got to come into play somehow, because it's only going to be a matter of time before somebody picks up quite a shady way of doing it, or becoming toppling an influencer to become famous themselves and going about it the wrong way of doing it, rather than, like you say, working on their own strengths rather than... I'm trying to think the best way of putting it, really. It's using something they're good at rather than toppling somebody else to get them noticed.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think with influencers, the thing that worries me is how far somebody's willing to go. Like, so if a brand says to them, we're going to give you 50 grand to do a post on Twitter or whatever, and it could be the most dodgiest thing they've ever done, is the dodgiest brand they've ever used, but they think, well, I get 50 grand from it, I don't care. And you've got all these kids, or kids, teenagers, elderly people who literally go, oh, I'm going to use that brand, and that brand turns out to be the worst thing, that they get scammed from it or something like cryptocurrency. A lot of influencers are starting to use crypto, and they're using it and they're getting scammed from it, and I do worry that that's going to kick off in a big way, especially we've got the whole what's it called? Not I can't remember what it's called. The life on it. Not crypto, the other one. The one that's really started kicking off in a big way.
I'm not sure, mate.
Help me.
Can't think of the other. Is it the one that they mine? You can mine it.
No, it's not Bitcoin.
It's about the only two I know, to be honest.
Okay.
NFTs, that's it. I couldn't think of the word. Yeah. So NFTs with a lot of people getting scammed with NFTs, and that a lot of people are using that as a form of currency. People still don't know who the owner of Bitcoin or who invented Bitcoin.
I think there's loads of...
Is that still a thing? Nobody knows.
I think there's loads of...
And there's a lot of people... a lot of people coming out and saying... Go on.
Who made up Bitcoin. But again, that might just be to get views on their own stuff, on TikToks or whatever. And I don't think we'll ever find out who made up Bitcoin. And maybe because I don't think it's one person. I think it'll be some sort of organization of some description. Yeah.
I mean, we do know, Martin. We do know who it is. It's Neil Buchanan.
I still think it was Sheikh Mansour. I think we need to take all his money.
It's also Banksy.
Yeah, I know.
Everyone's there typing away.
Just get a picture of the head come up. And then people are like, hold on a minute, that's Ronaldo's statue in it.
How good would it be though if we
I
actually
will
get
be tagging him in
from
this.
Neil Buchanan?
There is a...
Thanks for the shout out, guys.
Yeah, his career's come to a standstill probably. So he might.
Well, you have to do a TikTok with him then.
We'll put his name out there.
Getting to design as a new logo, mate. It's like a page for
I think that's the least he can do.
The startup of his podcast.
He'll just get a big sheet of paper on the floor, and he'll just start decorating it all. And he's there running around.
Just imagine doing one from home. He's just got a big kitchen floor, and he's just emptying knives and forks out of a drawer, and moving coffee grounds around, and getting stuff out of the bin. And he's just moving it all around. It's just us three in three different panels. And it's recording on the bottom. I want so.
Oh dear.
What I mean, I can only remember a little bit of this, but Mark will probably be able to tell us the most. So, what was life like before social media?
A lot easier. Yeah, you know, it's not just the social media; it's the whole technology thing, isn't it? You know, if you arrange to meet somebody somewhere, you had to ring them on the house phone early enough so that they're not left to go there. There's none of this, like, you know, text them 5 minutes before because you're not going to make it or you're going to be late or whatever else. It's got its pros and cons, hasn't it? You know, you're contactable everywhere now, regardless of, you know, I can go walking out in the Peak District. I could be at the top of Mam Tor and I've still got, in fact, I piggyback on someone's Wi-Fi from the top of Mam Tor. I don't know who their provider is, but, you know, they must have a cracking provider because I get Wi-Fi. Middle of bloody nowhere, there's nearest farm's, what, 500 or half a mile
probably
away or
stood on top
something
of
like
some
that.
sort
I'm
of
getting Wi-Fi.
underground SpaceX bunker, mate.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a bunker or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it would just
Run
be
by
like
the Russians or something
500
like
Chinese programmers just keeping in Elon Musk updated with everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I spread that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spread the hamster wheels.
It's just someone keeping the lizards at bay, mate. That's what it'll be.
I mean, yeah, I'm just. Yeah. Yeah, social media is
it's made the world a lot smaller.
Yeah, very much so.
But to the point where it's claustrophobic.
Yeah.
It's interesting how it's worked that way. But I don't remember a lot of, like, I think it was like 10, 11 when the internet really kicked off, and I felt like I was more productive before that. I feel like I think a lot of things were easier. Literally, you got up, you went to school, you came home, you watched telly, you played with your toys and whatever, and then you went to bed and did the same thing. Now I think it's getting older as well. I think a lot of time you do spend on emails and watching videos or reading something on the internet.
The thing is with the social,
it's definitely a different world.
Yeah, definitely.
And
the thing is with the social media as well. I mean, obviously, people go on about Big Brother watching and Big Brother doing this and what. They don't need to. They don't need to, because people are posting all about their lives and everything, and like you say, with emails to and fro from each other. There's no need for Big Brother because you're doing it for him. You know, on a landline, unless they're physically...
Exactly, I completely agree.
Unless they're physically tapped into the landline. You know, yeah, it went through an operator, or there's some sort of operating system where they could listen in. Where nowadays, you know, everything's airwaves, it's Wi-Fi, everything. You know, it's there, and anyone, if somebody's got a little bit of technology clout about them, they know they can hack into this, they can hack into that. You know, the screens on your laptops, your computers, your smart TVs, they can apparently look through, listening on your Alexas and everything else. You know, we've made it so easy for them. And like Richard goes, life was a lot easier. It was a hell of a lot. I remember coming out of the army and getting my first mobile phone. You know, the old Nokia brick type thing.
I think that is a good game. That's a top game. That.
You know, I can while I'm on the bus, I can do this, and I can.
Yeah. No. Or
this is a very good game, that one.
Or you could text your mate, like, bus is running late or something like that, thinking it's brilliant. Whereas now your mobile devices are more like mini computers. You know, you've got cameras on them, you've got your emails on them, you've got your social medias on them, you can watch TV on them. Yeah. And then they wonder why children and, well, adults as well are becoming lazier and not doing so much. And it was only when we was stopped doing these things, as in we had the lockdown, that people wanted to get out and do something. You know, once they lifted the lockdown, getting up the Peak District, if you went anywhere that had got Black Mamtor, you know, the popular places, forget it. The places were snided out. It was like Blackpool Beach on a bank holiday weekend. You know, there were parking everywhere. There was people all over the hill and everything. So it was like, sod that. You need to get off the beaten track. Yeah, it's had its good things, but it's also had its bad things. As me, Richard, trying to sneakily crack open a cold one.
Yeah, I mean, social media for me. I can't really remember exactly when I started, like maybe going on MySpace or whatever, but and MSN and that, probably like, I don't know, 13 maybe 14. But yeah, I mean, life was more like I think there was probably you'd probably do more because like you'd have more time to fill. Like if you wanted to fill time, you'd be like, all right, well, what can I do? Like, where can I go? Who can I see? Rather than like just bringing TikTok up, like I probably would now. But yeah, I mean, when I was at school and like I didn't even have a smartphone or anything, it would have felt so weird to me to be at school and have access to YouTube or like having a TikTok live at school. The thought of that to me is it's bonkers. When I go on TikTok live now and there's people at school like in lesson, like I'm just like, what is going off? Like I couldn't imagine doing that. Like I thought it was fascinating when I had an MP3 player in school. So like streaming like on TikTok or whatever in school. It's mind blowing for me. So the difference between social media and like now and back when I was a kid, it's crazy. The difference is crazy. Like it's so normalized now, but back then it would have been mental for me to sit there on YouTube when I'm like doing a history lesson or whatever.
Well, you even say if you were doing a history lesson, you could have just got whatever you would learning in school.
So weird with like
up on YouTube
certain
anyway
lessons,
and
like smartphones almost make certain things obsolete. Like doing your maths homework when you've just got apps that can just solve it for you. And like, when
you're in maths class, what you teach, like every maths teacher said,
literally,
like,
just take a picture of an equation
in your pocket when you're older.
Just take a picture of an equation or a math problem, and then it will solve it.
It's like mental.
Why do we need to learn this stuff? Because everyone has got this at the tip of the fingers, pretty much all the time now. So it's the thing, like.
Well, you've only got. I mean, it's progressed to shops as well, hasn't it? I mean, you go to shops now. If they get an issue with their internet or their internal electrical system or whatever, 90% of cashiers can't add up your shopping because it's all scanned. Boom, it does it all for them. They can't access the money because it's all electrical. A lot of people won't be able to pay for the money or pay for the shopping because the bank cards are on the phone now. You don't have to carry a wallet anymore. Everything's easily done. You just scan the back of your phone. Beep, that's it. Job done. It's paid. So it's you get some of the older people that can still do it the old way. I mean, my uncle was a bookie years and years ago, and obviously he was brought up with doing it. He could work out the odds and what they'd won, and everything else in his head within seconds. Then they brought the computers in that did it all for them and everything else. But back then, obviously, there was times when it wasn't as reliable as things are now. So it'd break down. So the new cashiers would come in and wouldn't be able to work out what a certain gentleman's winnings were because the computer broke down. She didn't have a clue how to do it. So she'd have to fetch him out the office to come out and say, right, well, I'm going to get that so and so, right, that's what he's won. So we're becoming too reliant on it.
I agree.
Becoming cyborgs, aren't we? It's just we've got some because everyone was on about the Google Glass when that came on with the glasses that have got something and that'll bring us into where we're basically becoming cyborgs, but we all kind of are really because we've always got one of these attached to us wherever we go.
Yeah.
It's never away from us. It's become part of us. It's part of our life, and
you get that ship.
I'm interested. I'm curious to see what would happen in the next 20 or 30 years. Will we still be the same? We'll still be doing the same kind of thing, or we'll have something like the Samsung thing where you can wrap it around your hand. That kind of they've got that material now where it snaps to your wrist. But it is interesting to see what will happen. But I would never personally have that. I'd this is probably the furthest I will go. I'd never have any kind of microchip or anything implanted in me so I could scan my card, whenever time I go shopping or anything. This is, for me, technology's got as far as I want it to go. Because any further than this, it's just, it worries me. It's not convenience.
Yeah.
This is, my point is the most convenient out it can be for me.
So,
after that, it's probably taking
social media
away
specifically,
from me,
when you're talking about in years to come, what do you think the effects will be on the future generation growing up now that have had the earlier years of social media? What do you think it's going to be like for kids growing up now with this all being completely bog standard?
I think TikTok will end up being taking over everything. I think everyone will do literally everything via TikTok. It's bad, it's big enough now, but the amount of kids that are just influenced by TikTok and stuff that's being said on TikTok, and they take it into school and say things that because it's been on TikTok, it's become part of their life now. Where before, when we were kids, it was all what we learned at school, what we learned from our parents, and I've had kids come up to me and say, they learn stuff what I've recently just learned because we've both watched it off of TikTok. It's going to be one of those things where, and that kind of brings in the whole misinformation part of it with the whole conspiracy theories. A kid's going to be learning about conspiracy theories, so when they go in school and a teacher teaches them something, they already know it. Or they already
with this
they'll tell the teacher it's wrong because something on TikTok told them it was
conspiracy stuff
something else.
I mean, there is some people that's obviously
scary to think about it.
You get all your information as a kid from your teachers and your parents, and obviously they got that information from their teachers and parents, and etc. It's that thing of people saying that the really woke people saying that the entire humanity is brainwashed to think a certain way. Because that's how, from when you're born to when you leave school or whatever, you're conditioned to learn a certain way and certain things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. But it brings into that whole thing with the school curriculum and the way a teacher teaches something. with the whole thing that's happening in America at the minute, it's becoming that teacher's views are being passed on to the kid rather than the teacher just teaching them the curriculum. Now, the school curriculum at the minute is kind of broken because, like we've said, we're being taught things that we can do already on our phones or algebra. We don't really, unless you're into like a high paid job where you need that, you're not really going to use it. While life skills, like we've all said in the past, have been pushed to one side for whatever the curriculum is. But yeah, it's going to be interesting what happens with TikTok. Probably why Trump wanted it banned, because things being posted on there and TikTok basically taking over from teachers and parents because they're all learning it off of that.
I think one of the reasons
I don't know what your views are on it, Mark, and what you think is going to happen.
I think one of the reasons
in the next 20, 30 years.
Trump wanted it banned, though, was because he couldn't control it. You know, it's when you come to these, because whether it's TikTok or one of its different versions of the same sort of social media, because they tend to go in fits and starts, don't they? The one becomes really big, and then it starts to die off as something new comes along. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. It's the way people are taught and how people progress now is completely different to how when obviously I went to school. You know, and with the conspiracy theories, you know, it's all there. It's so people they're going to question more what they're actually being taught at school. And well, actually, you know, did the moon landings happen? Because that picture there shows he's got a footprint and a grip on his boot, yet the picture of the actual spacesuit's got nothing on it. So they question everything straight away. I think eventually, schooling will be very different as well. You know, will that become where it's done at home, where they're sitting in front of something like what we are now, a screen? We had a taste of it through lockdown, where the schools had to adopt a different system, and universities and everything, so that you go on an online class and do. I think that's the way it will go eventually. Hopefully not in my
I think
lifetime.
it's the same with jobs as well.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, it's the same with jobs. A lot of people during C word, they had to work from home, so they didn't have these companies had this office space that was just sitting there, no one was in it. And as soon as it finished, they thought, well, what's the point in having all this office space when you can do it all from home? And it's got to the point where all these people who work in an office now, and they had that camaraderie between everyone, now they've just sat at home doing the work. And it's depressing for them because they can't physically, they just sit at home, do the work, and they live at home. And it makes me worried about those people who have office jobs, who every now and again they'll go out, but they just stay at home.
Home's no longer a sanctuary for them, is it?
Because it's made them realise. No, it's made like they've been made redundant because that company's realised, well, we don't need you, because we can get somebody else to do it, or it can be done by an AI, or it can be done by a program or something. That's what worries me about social media as well, is with like news, getting the news or anything, it's literally can just upload itself. Something happens, all it takes is one person to go tap 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 on send. It's there. Everyone can see it. So what's the point? Like, they want to get rid of the BBC News 24-hour station, because what's the point in having it?
Yeah,
you can literally just type it on Twitter and it's there.
Yeah. Well, it can be sent across the entire network, can't it? You know, it's regardless of which news agency they work for, within seconds it's there across everything.
Mm-hmm.
So they've all got that information at hand instantaneously.
100%. So, with like social media sort of taking over people's lives now, do you think there should be regulations for social media? Maybe time limits So you only get so many hours a week, and it's all regulated. Like the Chinese, it's a sort of a Chinese model, with how long they can spend on the internet and stuff.
The problem with that is that, it's a very slippery slope, isn't it? Once you start telling somebody what they can and can't do.
Revolution.
It's a... it's a... it's a very slippery slope, isn't it? You're going into communism. You can do this, you can do that. Well, in fact, what we're going to do is we're going to doctor what you can see and what you can't see to suit our political needs. We do it. We do it as parents to Scarlett. She gets, a certain limited time on electricals every day anyway. But obviously, as she grows older and gets her own job and everything else, that'll all change. Something needs doing. What and how they go about it is a very tricky subject, and there's always going to be upsetting someone along the line, because same as as soon as you're told you can't do something, that's it. You want to do it. So
exactly. It's worrying because you don't know who should be that person who says you can and cannot. Who should be able to bring in these regulations? Like who watches the watchmen?
Yeah.
Who's gonna make sure that person isn't abusing the system? And because it's not like communism and capitalism, it's like West versus East. But with the internet, everyone is involved in the internet. So who can be that one body or one person who should be there to regulate it, and who brings it in that person should be allowed to do it, and who watches them to make sure they do the right things? That's my problem with regulation, because at the minute it's like something needs to be done, but I think regulation is the wrong word. It's like we've created something. We've created the internet, and we didn't know how. I think we underestimated. Well, we did. We did completely underestimate that, and what it turned out to be. Because originally it was just meant to be like email and being able to do Word documents and send it to people, and now it's just become what it is. And they've just left it, and the governments have just left it and left it and left it and left it to the point now they're like, well, we don't know what to do. Copyright law is another thing. I could literally stream a video or a film or something, and it could take weeks before someone takes it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's because the internet's so vast, isn't it? That's the thing. To give you some sort of idea with the regulation thing, I don't know if any of you guys have watched The Boys on Netflix.
I need to watch it, but I've not watched it. No.
Yeah, well, the company that basically run the superheroes on the Boys, they regulate all the news and everything else. So whenever a superhero's done something bad, all of a sudden it becomes, well, actually, it was this group attacking him, just so that they can make themselves look good. So that they've took over the whole system, the news, they influence politics and everything else. And like Rich says, you've only got to get the wrong people, and any group who takes on that role of trying to restrict or regulate what's happening, they're always going to be vulnerable to something, whether it be money, politics, or whatever else. It goes back to the old thing with what they've done in their own past. Well, actually, we're going to blackmail you with what you put 20 years ago. So you're going to push what we want rather than
I agree.
what you should be doing.
I agree. So it's all a minefield, really. It's all a minefield. And we're still, obviously, we're learning as we go.
Yeah,
social
very much
media and technology in general. I think it's vital. It is almost vital in the current world, I think, to have things like this. Like, to go back to no social media now would have its upsides, but I think it'd have dramatically more downsides now, because it's just the world is conditioned to have social media in its circles now. So it's become the norm.
I think the only way you're going to get us, I think the only way you're going to get a society with those sort of social media platforms or things is the old Mad Max films. After nuclear war or something,
it's all
your tribes of people beyond the Thunderdome,
civilizations that aren't touched by technology. That's what you're gonna. Any more questions, comments, or anything you want to ask any of us, boys? Any points you want to bring up about anything we've said?
No, I don't think so. I think we've pretty much covered it. We've digressed a bit in parts, haven't we? We've gone on to the technology rather than the actual social media. But no, I think we've pretty much covered
Rich,
just about everything.
I think we've covered all our points that we wanted.
There's so much we could be here all day. To be fair,
it's been an interesting talk.
All good things have got to come to an end, right? You can have too much of a good thing. But anyway, It's been an absolute pleasure, gents.
Yes.
Exactly. Just keep them on the hook.
Keep them wanting. That's the word.
Yeah. Well, I mean, exactly. I mean, the social media and technology subject is such a massive subject. We can come back to this. And things may have changed a little, so views will have changed a little bit. There's no saying that we can't jump on this bandwagon again.
We'll dip into social media because a lot of things are relative to that now. Like I said before, it's just literally to not have it now would be
part of life,
catastrophic because it is just the way of life. Unfortunately, it's got to that point now where it's the norm, and every time there's something that's not normal, people go into panic mode. So it's here to stay. That is for sure. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you again, gents. It's been glorious. Thanks for taking the time out of your day. This episode will be
likewise.
Episode will be up on YouTube and Spotify, boys, when get around to sorting it out. Unironically, all social media will be posted below in the comments for it. Thanks everyone for listening to this vid. Probably Richard, who's going to replay it probably 6 or 7 times, but that's fine. So if anyone wants to be updated when we upload a video or anything going down, if we ever do a live one, subscribe to a channel and you'll get notifications, or drop us comments. I listened to him. He's crazy. So any comments, we'll get back to you. But thanks for listening, chaps. So, see you later, everyone.